Have you ever reached a moment in life when you quietly realized something difficult? Something most people don't talk about? The realization that one day you may not be able to rely on anyone the way you once did, not even family. It's not that the people you love suddenly stop caring about you. Life simply changes. Children grow busy with their own families and responsibilities. Siblings begin facing their own health problems. Friends move away, slow down, or quietly pass from this world. And somewhere in the middle of an ordinary day, a thought appears. You ask yourself a question that can feel both honest and unsettling. Who is really there for me now? For many people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, this realization can feel like hitting a wall. For most of your life, you were surrounded by roles. You were a parent, a partner, a coworker, a neighbor, someone others depended on. But as the years pass, those roles slowly change. And sometimes the emotional and practical support we once expected from others becomes less certain. But here is something important to understand. This realization is not meant to make you feel bitter. It is meant to make you wiser. Because when you reach this stage of life, you begin discovering something powerful. The most reliable forms of support in your later years often do not come from other people. They come from the foundations you build within your own life. Foundations that do not disappear when someone becomes busy. Foundations that do not fade when circumstances change. There are quiet sources of strength that can carry you through your 70s and beyond with dignity, independence, and peace. And once you understand them, aging no longer feels like losing support. Instead, it begins to feel like discovering where your true strength has always lived. One of the most important foundations in later life is something very simple, yet incredibly powerful: your ability to move. Physical mobility may sound like a practical issue, but it is deeply connected to something much larger: freedom. When you can move your body with confidence, even in small ways, you maintain control over your life. You can rise from bed on your own. You can prepare a simple meal. You can step outside and breathe the fresh morning air without waiting for someone to help you. These moments might seem ordinary to younger people, but after 70, they represent something much more meaningful. They represent independence. Many people assume physical decline is simply an unavoidable part of aging, but the truth is, the body continues to respond to movement at every stage of life. When you stretch your muscles, they remain active. When you walk regularly, your balance improves. When you keep using your body, it continues supporting you. This does not require intense exercise or complicated routines. Often the most powerful habits are small ones: a short walk around the block, gentle stretching in the morning, standing up and moving around the house instead of sitting for long periods. These small actions send a message to your body. The message is simple: I am still living, and your body listens. Mobility also protects something many people overlook: your confidence. When people begin losing physical confidence, they often start withdrawing from life itself. They decline invitations. They avoid outings. They hesitate to travel or visit friends. Not because they no longer care about these things, but because they worry they may not be able to manage. Movement restores that confidence. It reminds you that you still belong in the world around you. A man named Harold once explained this beautifully. Harold was 78 years old and walked around his neighborhood every morning with a cane. Rain or shine, he completed the same quiet route. Someone once asked him why he was so committed to that daily walk. Harold smiled and said something simple: "The day I stop walking is the day I start waiting for someone else to move me." He didn't want that day to come too soon. His walks were not fast, they were not perfect, but they were his, and that made all the difference. Another quiet foundation that supports many people in their later years is something most of us rarely think about when we are younger: financial simplicity. Many people believe peace of mind comes from having large savings or impressive investments, but for many older adults, peace comes from something far simpler: clarity. Complicated finances create emotional stress. Multiple accounts, scattered bills, subscriptions you forgot about years ago. These things slowly create anxiety, especially later in life when energy and patience become more valuable than ever. But when your financial life becomes simple, something changes. Your mind becomes calmer. You know what you need, you know what you spend, and you know that your life is manageable. Financial simplicity does not mean giving up control. In many ways, it means gaining control. A modest lifestyle that truly fits your needs often brings more peace than chasing a lifestyle that constantly stretches your resources. A woman named Lorraine once shared her story. Lorraine was 74 when her husband passed away. Suddenly, she found herself managing financial decisions alone for the first time in decades. At first, it felt overwhelming, so she made a brave decision. She simplified everything. She downsized her home, she closed accounts she didn't need, she kept only one credit card and eliminated unnecessary expenses. Slowly, her life became easier to manage. One afternoon, she said something that revealed how powerful that change had been. She said, "There was a time I was afraid to open my mailbox. Now I open every letter calmly." That quiet confidence is the true gift of financial simplicity. Another powerful source of support in later life is something that may seem ordinary: a consistent health routine. By the time someone reaches 70 or 80, health becomes one of the most valuable foundations of independence. But health rarely comes from occasional effort. It grows through daily consistency. Simple routines: drinking enough water, taking medication at the right time, going for regular walks, preparing nourishing meals, getting enough rest. These small habits create rhythm in your life, and rhythm creates stability. Routine has a powerful effect on the human mind. When life becomes uncertain, routine reminds your brain that some things remain steady. A man named Frank once described this beautifully. Frank was 81 years old and followed the same morning ritual for years. He woke up early, he made a cup of green tea, he stretched for 15 minutes, then he walked around his neighborhood. Someone once asked him why he followed the same routine every single day. Frank smiled and gave a simple answer: "It reminds me that I still matter." That routine was not just about exercise, it was about identity. Another form of strength becomes incredibly important as we age: emotional resilience. Life after 60 often brings moments of loss. A spouse may pass away, friends may drift apart, health may change. These experiences can feel overwhelming if we do not learn to process them. But resilience does not mean ignoring pain. It means allowing yourself to feel deeply without letting sorrow take control of your life. Resilience is the ability to sit quietly with sadness and still believe tomorrow holds meaning. It is the understanding that grief and gratitude can exist in the same heart. A woman named Eileen once shared a small ritual that helped her navigate loneliness after losing her husband. Every evening, she lights a small candle, not because of religion, but because it reminds her of something simple. She tells herself, "I made it through today." Some nights she cries, some nights she laughs, but every night she honors the strength that carried her through another day. That is emotional resilience. The final foundation that supports many people in their later years is something deeply personal: your values. Throughout life, many people define themselves by roles: parent, worker, spouse. But when those roles change or fade, something more permanent must remain: your personal code. Your values act like a compass. They guide your decisions even when the world around you becomes uncertain. Values like honesty, kindness, responsibility, patience, and self-respect may seem simple, but they create powerful stability in life. When you live according to your values, you stop seeking approval from others. You stop questioning whether you are doing enough. You simply live with integrity. A man named Howard once described his personal philosophy in a way that stayed with me. He said he lives by 5 simple rules. Speak the truth, do not waste food, return what you borrow, forgive quickly, and sleep each night with a clear conscience. That was his entire code. Howard did not live a wealthy life, but he lived with dignity, and dignity is one of the greatest forms of peace. As we grow older, many people begin reflecting on who truly stands beside them when life becomes quiet, and sometimes the answer is not what we expected. But the truth is this: some of the strongest support systems in life were never outside us, they were always within us. Our strength, our habits, our resilience, our values. When these foundations become strong, something remarkable happens. You may still appreciate the presence of family and friends, but your peace no longer depends entirely on them. You become your own foundation. And when you can stand confidently on your own foundation, you rarely feel truly alone. Because the greatest strength in later life is not always the support others give us. Sometimes it is the strength we discover within ourselves. And once you find that strength, aging no longer feels like losing control. Instead, it begins to feel like gaining a deeper kind of freedom.